So welcome everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Yeah, Telcom Divine is my name. I'm going to be the co-moderator of this session. I'll be moderating with my colleague from the United States, California, Kai Neptune. So we are very, very happy, pleased to have you for the second phase of the SDG, African Youth for SDG training, which has a peculiarity of translating and localizing the SDGs into local languages. So we did this, we launched this program in 2014, and it went operational in December 5th, 2015, after the adoption of the SDGs. So a little bit of a background of why we thought that localizing into local language was very important and paramount, and into Braille as well, transcribing. I was very, very fortunate to be part of the process back in 2012 with the DSG right now, Amina Mohammed, in designing the SDGs through the My World 2015 survey. And that's where I met with Jay. We joined here on the policy strategic group of the United Nations. So I'm very, very happy that from inception, we have been very much involved. So with this, I'm going to give the floor to my co-moderator to introduce herself, and then we're going to start this session with Arina to give her presentation or her keynote. So Kai, introduce yourself, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kai Neptune. I'm coming in from California, USA. I'm very honored to be here with all of you. This is a wonderful opportunity to learn more. And I'm just jumping in as an international networker. I love what we're doing with agriculture and youth, and I'm excited for this session today. I will be helping everyone stay on track with a bell. So when it's your time, about 5 minutes for the keynote speakers, I will be ringing your bell so you can wrap it up when I ring the bell, okay? Yes. And then we'll have a few minutes for questions. Good. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, so what Kai simply means is that if you're speaking for 10 minutes, because okay, I have to say here that we have our keynote people, they would like talking a lot, they have a lot to share. So let's give them 10 minutes and 8 minutes. After 8 minutes, they give 2 minutes of questions, and then we have their 10 minutes. So with this, without further much ado, I give the floor to Arina. Arina, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. And distinguished speakers, dear participants, let me first thank the African Youth for the SDGs training for this invitation, and greetings from New York, where I work as a director of a stakeholder forum for a sustainable future, which is an international non-for-profit organization that works on empowerment and capacity building of stakeholders in sustainable development. I'm honored to be part of this, and the work that you are doing is really amazing. Translating SDGs into native languages and establishing SDG clubs throughout the education system at all levels is something which is very much needed if we are going to make sustainable development part of our daily lives. To many of your sustainable development might look very abstract at first, but if you get to understand it in your native language, and if you see what it means in your daily lives, you will comprehend the importance of sustainable development. The former United Nations Secretary General, who came from Africa, Mr. Kofi Annan, said, "Our biggest challenge in this new century is to take an idea that seems abstract, sustainable development, and turn it into a reality for all the world's people." And we are all here to see how it can turn into reality. Sustainable development is about long-term development. Therefore, it is important to have young people engaged from an early age. The way we learn to think and be aware of the communities in which we live will define our lives, our opinions, and our views. The sooner we learn that all people are equal wherever they are, whatever they are, and regardless how old they are, and that they all have rights to live productive and healthy lives in harmony with nature, the better all of our lives will be. And this is what sustainable development teaches us. We all have rights, and we have to fight for them and defend them. And to be able to fight and defend them, we need to learn how to do it. And we can only learn if we are given the opportunity to learn and have access to quality education. Learning about Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, is part of that education. SDGs have been defined in such a way as to cover all aspects of our lives. If we achieve SDGs, we will achieve inclusive and nature-responsive economy, equal and inclusive societies where all people are treated with respect and lead productive and healthy lives with access to all basic services like education, health, decent housing, water, and electricity. At the same time, our nature and our planet will be protected as we strive to produce and consume sustainably, reduce impacts of climate change, and preserve biodiversity. But of course, this is all easier said than done. We know that we need to develop sustainably. We know we have SDGs through which we can achieve it. But the big question is how? The 20th century scientist Albert Einstein, who invented theory of special relativity and helped scientists break through some of the barriers to understand the physical world and the universe, also left us with a definition of insanity attributed to him, which says that insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And if we have been doing for ages things in the name of industrialization or consumerism, and our societies have been set up in such a way as to support this, it is very difficult to change. We are now living the consequences of materialism and neglect when many of human values they are not obtained through the detriment of others and without complete disregard for nature. Let me use an example of plastic. I can still remember in my childhood that we had straws to drink milk or juice made of real straw. However, soon, as I was becoming an adult, the real straw was replaced by plastic in the name of progress. These plastic straws now pollute the environment, and we have tons of plastic in the oceans, seas, and rivers. If we take SDG 12 on sustainable consumption and production, we know we need to eliminate plastic in straws and other things. We will become responsible if we replace reusable water bottles with canteens, and if we do it for the whole school or university campus, we have contributed a great deal. We all have to start from ourselves. We can all hope that sustainable development, to be achieved through sustainable development goals, is going to lead us to a better future, and the youth, as leaders of tomorrow, need to lead to transformational change, where game-changing policies based on science should be adopted so that we, as human beings, can respect nature, as without nature, there is no life on this planet. And youth needs to be that change, as without change, we will all, according to Einstein, become insane. And for the change to happen, efforts like this to bring, as you say, SDGs to your doorstep are invaluable. We have this great framework in SDGs. We now need to learn how to implement them for better lives for all of us. And that is why I congratulate all your efforts and encourage you to continue your great work. We, in the Stakeholder Forum, are also doing our part. I invite you to check our activities, especially the webinars we're organizing on SDGs in the run-up to the SDG Summit, which will take place at the United Nations headquarters in New York in September next year. Our next webinar on SDGs 5 on gender and 6 on water will take place on 26 January next year. I invite you all to join us. Thank you. Have a great holiday season and a happy and safe New Year. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, very happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Arina. That's why we needed you here. That's why we needed you. You are so impressed. Thank you very much indeed. So if you have any questions, please just unmute your mic or raise your hand, because she has like 3 minutes before she leaves. Yes. So any questions, just indicate and we give you the floor, please. Yes. While we are thinking of your questions, I'm going to give a straight question to Arina. So Arina, what's going to take for us as young people, women, persons with disabilities to attend the summits coming up in September? Are there some criteria, the registration process, deadlines, and all of that? Thank you very much. Over.
Thank you. So basically, to attend the summit, you would need to have the consultative status with the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations, which of course, if you don't have it already, it will be difficult to get it by the summit because it usually takes a little while to get this status because it's approved by the United Nations member states. But what you can do, of course, you can engage with us, with the stakeholder forum, and we can find ways how to do it, because what we are planning to do is to have a meeting of civil society and other non-state actors in the run-up to the SDG summit. So just before, a little bit before the summit. And then we would like to have everybody on board, and we would try to get somebody from this summit to report from this meeting of the non-state actors and stakeholders to report to the official meeting of the summit. But there is also a lot that you can do in the run-up to the summit. And as I have already said, we are having these webinars each month where we take on 2 SDGs and more, not just talking about the SDGs as such, but also using this opportunity to look at the interlinkages between the SDGs, between nexuses between different sectors, and how each one can influence the other, and how the progress in one can also be progress in the other. And we are also planning to establish communities of action on different SDGs, so you can also get engaged in that. And it would be great to have you. And as I say, the youth and women and all persons with disabilities and everybody who unfortunately was being left behind for a long time we are trying to do our best to be as inclusive as possible, and that's what the SDGs are also about, to make them inclusive and to work for all for everybody.
Thank you very much. The good news is one of the criteria being the consultative status. We have that already. So we are well to go. We are very, very happy. Joan, over to you, Joan. Yes.
Hi, good morning, good evening. Irina, was just happy that you mentioned the communities of action, because I think that so much of education talks about policy and policy development, and you have to have that. You have to have policies, obviously, to create frameworks. But when you're talking to the general public, what they want is just tell me what to do. So I just wanted to commend that. That was I was listening for that. Where's the action? So do you have an idea when those communities of actions would start?
Thanks, John. And this is really a great question. And I'm always for action, because we already have a framework in SDGs and in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. So it's already there. So what we need is really how to implement all of that. And what we are trying now to do, we had so far 2 webinars. We covered 4 SDGs. We are going from 1 to 16 and taking 17 as a cross-cutting on means of implementation. So we are now, we will be trying to get those people who are speakers in those webinars to be like a conveners on these communities. And then whoever is interested, we will send a blast out, and whoever is interested would then contact them. And that's something what we did similar. What we did when I was still working at the United Nations, when we were doing the United Nations Ocean Conference in 2017. We created communities of ocean action on different areas which are related to oceans. And they are still up and running, and all of people who are, and so what you are doing is basically you are exchanging good practices and experience from projects and lessons learned, and also trying to get the interregional perspectives on all of that. So if there is a project or a good policy that has worked in one country or in one region, that it can be transferred to another. And so there's a lot of cross-fertilization. So we are definitely going to start establishing those, and we are hoping to get them running before the summit. But then, of course, it would go beyond the summit and at least until 2030. And we would like to also, we are trying to get some funding for it, to establish a database of good practices that we would really look on interlinkages, because there are a lot of things that are being said and done in particular SDGs, but what is lacking is this interlinkages between the SDGs and those nexuses, that you can have a nexus, let's say, between energy and water and agriculture, or or gender as a cross-cutting one, and so or good governance as cross-cutting one. So all of that, this is something which is lacking, and we would like to specifically get those types of lessons learned and good practices. So if you're interested, just bear a little bit still with us, and we are going to send out the blast, and you can join then.
Great, thank you.
Any other question for Irina? Any other question for Irina? Okay, I see no show of hand. So Irina, thank you very much for your presentation. Indeed, we are so grateful to have you. So I'm giving the floor to Professor Laurette from McGill. Professor Laurette, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Good. Welcome, Professor Laurette. You have the floor for your keynote.
Okay, will you allow me to share my my slides?
Go ahead, please.
Okay, go ahead. You need to allow me to share. It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Yeah, let me come here. Let me give you allow to record. Yes. Can you now?
Okay, I just need to find the right screen. Hold on. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen, but it's
Okay.
tiny. Can you enlarge it?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So it is full screen now. Very nice to meet you, everyone. This is my second briefing I gave as part of Divine Virtual Academy. And here I will, in fact, build up a lot on the commentary and presentation, which I gave the title Building with and for the Youth as Catalyst for Reaching SDG, the World Reset from Economic Convergence to Convergence Economy. And that's really the action for the SDG as to really translate into revisiting the way we have been developing the world for the last the first industrial revolution, and do so in most likely working with the youth, training them, and differently than what we have been doing so far. So very briefly, who I am, founding chair and scientific director of the McGill Center for the Convergence for Health and Economics. We have taken food as entry point, very much foreseeing we need to bring together all the scientists that are needed, but also all the action leaders to work differently, projects by projects, boiling the ocean one drop at a time, but having this vision that it has, instead of just moving from one summit to the other, or in addition to moving from one summit to the other, action have to happen on the ground. And it is very much this convergence by design that we have been talking and working with action partners in Africa, in Canada, and around concrete projects portfolio, is to look at positioning food and so on within the context of a whole person. The small-scale farmer is not just a farmer, he is the whole dimension of his life, but also looking at systematically envisioning what is it that the sector can do for each other and within and across jurisdiction. And that is why here I will skip those images briefly, but we are making the point that we don't have choice. I'm in Montreal and we are just finishing the COP 15. And it is imminent that SDG have to achieve if we want to remain mankind for the next couple of centuries. And here, this is a complex but very simple as can be. Someone was citing Einstein. Einstein also said that we need to embrace complexity and make it as simple as possible, but no simpler. And that's really this convergence by design approach here, is to say, if we start looking at economic progress, environment, social equity, and health and healthcare as a society all working toward the same goal, we are reaching another level. And now here, I would like to zoom on the youth and the youth as driver of change, but also how we can think of capacity building and training. Building upon, you have here, this is the GCSAYN current capacity building program with a strong emphasis on climate smart agriculture, and that's an important building block. But I would like to go further in saying that they have to be trained in regenerative agriculture with their small-scale local system, but see themselves also in terms of the piece that they contribute to and can change the country level or the global food system. And that's really a core perspective that I think we need to bring to the foreground in addition to the more climate smart agriculture. The second point here, training to operate in and transform complex adaptive system of system, because the SDG essentially called for this action at local, country, and global level. And here, this is a slide I was using the last time, but this was a mapping about climate change in Malawi, exercise that are done for understanding the various layers of forces. But it's not just understanding, it is acting upon. And that is why I'm back to the digital capacity. It is not a solution per se, but if we train the youth and the less youth to harness the power of digital technology, not as one more app or so on, but embedding this and combining with human creativity, empathy, and entrepreneurship, with a strong focus on real-world transformation. And the last thing here, training for lifelong learning and practice for complexity and convergence. We talk about T whole person, which is everyone need to delve into a domain of specialty or a skill domain and so on, but at the same time, and that's the I, the vertical aspects, but at the same time, the T comes from understanding the complex system within which one work, one operate, and so on. This is, if you have heard of design thinking and this kind of this type of approach, this is one important is that it's also supporting the person in the whole development while building the competitive skill that is needed to deliver. So brief conclusion, the GCSAYN and other are key to set appropriate mindset and skill in youth, and by doing so, transforming education and all what is needed for the SDG. But what I'm also saying, youth can be not only advocate from one summit to the other, but most importantly, catalyst for change in their own and other generation for accelerating SDGs. So that's why the work that Divine and his team are doing is important to support and to scale up as much as possible, not just to go to the summit Divine, but to work between summits at scale. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Where we got the message, not just going for the summit, but equally working the outcomes of this summit on ground, working the talk. We are so delighted to get this from you, Prof. Any questions for Professor Laurent? Any question, you just like indicate, and we give you the floor to ask your question directly to her.
So I have a question.
Yes, Joanne.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
So your Center for Convergence, how old is it?
It has been created as a McGill Center in 2013. It is, I am a chair professor in management, and it kind of get internally at McGill faculty from a member from 6 or 7 faculty, agriculture, law, and so on and so forth. But the center is also and primarily a virtual network of like-minded scientists and action leaders. So that has started, in fact, we had started with in the agri-food sector, the pulse sector in 2010 or so, working really to take, in that context, we're taking agriculture as entry point, pulses, lentil, and so on, and then work in terms of how do you move from the agricultural. We work with them to get 2016 being declared the year of pulse by FAO. But then from this, how do you do to move from the raw agricultural commodity to the type of food and the type of diet that individual and population. So that's really, and the emphasis on the digital is that this ability to connect, but also to bridge various data and actors and so on that you need to work at those different scales is important.
So when you say digital tools, you mean in terms of digital literacy?
It starts with digital literacy, but I also talk about the various connecting. We would not be together now if we did not have Zoom, for instance.
Connectivity.
Ability of technology to connect people, to also in terms of ability to keep trace of signal from the farm to the consumer. That's another aspect of more the data and the technology. And then you also have the data. Rockefeller, after COP27, after or before, I'm not sure, signed titled their report, what gets funded is what gets measured. So that's within that context that I also include data in as real-time, data in as integrated as possible. I don't know if it addresses you. your question.
In some ways, but thank you. I don't see any other hands, so I'm going to continue asking questions. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So connectivity is a big issue. So when are you working with local communities, or is it from a framework from the high level?
Yeah, if I give an example, for instance, and that's the whole point, is that we cannot change the world working just at global level.
Right.
So here in Canada, I am one of the PI of a pan-Canadian training platform, action-oriented platform for healthy city. So here in Montreal, there are work we do at community level that are concerned with food security and so on. But at the same time, this is also an entry point to work in terms of the more local or regional food system, and progressively, if you start taking, I don't know, fruits and vegetables or dairy and so on, that's the way then you can start moving at the other jurisdiction level. In complex adaptive system, that's the key point, is that you need to take an entry point and see what makes sense in evolving, both in understanding and then as acting upon. But yeah, absolutely. And that's, if you look at my diagram at the beginning, and the other piece also that is important is us as human beings. We are not just very rational. We are not just doing the work and so on. So it's really we understanding human behavior and the complexity, but also community, which are the closest to our personal life, but then moving up city, state, and so on. But the key point is that you cannot take everything at the same time, but if we don't start one drop at a time, the ocean will not be impacted.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much, Prof. I see the hand of Takele. Takele, if it's a burning question, you have 1 second to ask your question. Yes, Takele. Oh, it's not ready. So, Prof, thank you very much for this insightful presentation. Thanks very much for the contribution, and we are so delighted to have you. Because you mentioned FAO, we have right here the ADG, that's the Assistant Director General of FAO for the Regional Office for Africa, Dr. Abebe Gabriel, who has been supporting us right from inception. I remember when he was still at the African Union back in 2000, and I met him in 2013, and so he has been supporting what we're doing. So I'm giving the floor now to Dr. Abebe to give his keynote statement.
Thank you, Divine. Perhaps Prof. Laurent.
Yeah, I need to stop sharing. Okay, let me see. Where do I do that? Okay. Okay, all yours.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Thank you so much. I hope I can be heard. Greetings from FAO Regional Office for Africa, based in Accra, Ghana. I want to congratulate Divine and the entire team for organizing this important dialogue on African Youth for Sustainable Development Goals. Achieving the SDGs require significant political will and political commitment and bold actions by all stakeholders at all levels. And young people should be at the core of these actions and should be provided with the opportunities and the possibilities. Coming from FAO, I want to use agri-food systems as entry points for our dialogue on sustainable development. I'm sure the message will resonate well with other dimensions of the SDGs as well. So agri-food systems, as you know, are inherently unifying and synergizing. Agri-food system is a trade agenda. It is an industrialization agenda. It's an energy and infrastructure agenda. It is a science, innovation, and technology agenda. It's a health and environmental agenda. It's a youth development and employment agenda. It's a gender equality and women empowerment agenda, and so on. I could go on. So it's important that the agri-food system agenda is co-owned, not just in terms of provision of support, but by making it at the center of the multi-sectoral and multi-stakeholders business. We cannot achieve this without breaking away from the traditional and convenient way of doing things. I think of three interrelated aspects in this regard. The first is the need to think and act big, because piecemeal and incremental approaches have not provided desirable and lasting solutions. Our efforts must match, if not exceed, the challenges we are facing. The second is to take bold and brave measures and provide unwavering support that the transformation effort requires, and equally to avoid any doubts on the imperatives of agri-food systems transformation. The third is to ensure that the desired transformation should bring value to the efforts and investments. In other words, there should be real incentives to motivate more effort and investments. Speaking of agri-food systems, the transformation should bring value to the farmers and the rural producers and consumers, to young people, men and women, making them at the center of the transformation agenda along the whole value chain. And science, technology, innovation should drive the process. However, there is a huge gap between existing science, innovation, and technology and their accessibility and uptake at local level, particularly in Africa and among smallholders. Added to this is the digital divide, which should be a key concern. Essentially, what we have at the moment is kind of dual systems in a global marketplace. The first is a high productivity system driven by science, technology, and innovation. The second is a low productivity system, which is tied up with rudimentary methods. The products originating from both compete for the same markets, locally and globally. It means imported wheat, rice, fruits, or chicken are sold cheaper in local markets than locally produced ones. Such a design would enable the former system to always win and prosper, and the latter to doom the latter to failure. So the problem is the design. We need to change that design. With the right social and economic policies and investments, the youth have an immense role to play in raising awareness, fostering innovation, and advocating for and driving change that can fuel economic transformation and help countries achieve the SDGs. Youth-sensitive investment programs in agri-food systems can make a difference in engagement and empowerment of youth. Supportive policies and well-targeted investments can play a catalytic role in national processes that improve the enabling environment for youth to get good quality jobs or start, maintain, and expand profitable businesses. This is why in FAO's new strategic framework, we have identified youth as a cross-cutting theme to be mainstreamed in all our programmatic work. Making agri-food systems more inclusive for youth is key to achieving better production, better nutrition, a better environment, and a better life for all, leaving no one behind. FAO is working with partners to create space for young women and men to participate in the design and implementation of public policies related to agri-food systems and climate change, to develop skills to expand young people's ability to create solutions in agri-food systems, to provide young women and men access to productive resources to markets and finance, and to facilitate investments in youth-led innovations. Across the Africa region, programs such as the FAO and UNIDO, Opportunities for Youth in Africa, OYA for short, take a multi-country approach to mainstream and create decent employment and entrepreneurship opportunities for the young people. At the FAO Regional Conference for Africa that was held in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea in April this year, FAO, in collaboration with the African Union Commission, launched investment guidelines for youth in agri-food systems in Africa. It aims to contribute towards accelerating investment for and by youth, taking into consideration the diversity of their constraints, needs, and aspirations. The guidelines provide practical guidance, examples, and detailed how-to steps in developing youth-focused and youth-sensitive investment programs and intervention. We know there is more work to be done to enhance the involvement and leadership of Africa's youth in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. FAO is committed to continue working with all partners towards the advancement of a shared agenda that puts Africa's youth at the core of an efficient, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable transformation pathways, especially in times such as this, when the world is facing unprecedented challenges. I wish you a fruitful dialogue, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abebe. Thank you very much for always being there. Really, we are so delighted to have you. You've always attended all our dialogues. I remember the Food System Summit last year, where we organized close to 100 Food System Summit process dialogues. You were able to actually give time or recommend your colleagues to attend. We just launched the Children and Youth Cycle in August, and you were not available. You recommended your deputy to attend. So we are so delighted. And here you are today again with us. So we are very, very happy. So if you have any question directly and very burning for Dr. Abebe, please raise up your hand and ask before he takes his leave. Yes? Any question directly? You just raise your hand and then you pose your question, please. Yes, Zenda, we see two hands. Yeah, Zenda, please carry on.
I think I saw Mr. Shadrach Aki also raising hands, by the way. Thank you very much, Mr. Haile Gabriel. I think a very relevant topic. And question is, there are quite a huge network of young people trying to achieve these kind of things, but access to digital networks, what you say, is one thing, or setting up these kind of things. How can they cooperate with the initiatives you are looking into? So how can you enable them to work on this?
Thank you. I think I can just go on, and then Dr. Harry will just answer the two questions together. My question to Dr. Harry will be, because everything that we are talking about, for them to reach the young people, it will be about communication. So what is the communication strategy of FAO to reach young people from the global level to the local level? I think that would be a simple question answer.
Over to you, Doctor.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Sander or Hander. Sorry for mispronunciation of
Sander.
Sander. Very good. Access to network. How can we work together? I think the communication related question is also related. The best approach is using our network. FAO is present in almost all countries, in particular in Africa. Under my regional office here, we have 47 countries. And in each and every country, we have country offices, we have programs. We work with different stakeholders. Of course, our main interlocutors are governments, but we work also with young people. We have initiatives, including initiative on digital agriculture in many countries. So what I would like to advise you and others is to reach out to our offices in the country, and they will provide you information that is relevant to that particular, what is going on in that country. And if they cannot provide for region specific, like things that go beyond that country, they can refer you also to us. So that is what I want to say. In part on the communication, we have a lot of, I think FAO, one of the things which we have done recently is to make our communication strategy as attractive to different stakeholders as possible. We have different communication products, different communication outlets. We also engage young people directly. I'm sure Divine will tell you, for example, in October, when we had organized the World Food Forum, we had a youth forum. The big chunk of it has always been a youth forum. This is a new development since, I think, 2-3 years in FAO. We engage FAO deliberately, young people deliberately. Our communication approach, strategy, and products speak to the needs and aspirations of young people. We try to reach out to them at different levels. And I'll be very happy to share with you the different communication mechanisms that we have in FAO at headquarters level, regional level, country level. I hope I have answered your questions.
Yes, and I think I'll second Dr. Abebe to say that the World Food Forum is actually one of a youth flagship. I mean, they organize the flagships every year, and the partnership, the Global Partnership Officer is a member of GCSAYN Kenya. He is the one who established GCSAYN in Kenya, and now he's in Rome. So I want to say that young people's voices are being fully integrated and mainstream across the FAO agenda. So I'm very, very happy. Thank you very much, Doctor. Because of time, I will be moving to the next speaker. We heard from the multi-sectorial level. We heard from Professor. Now we are moving to policy. We have 2 parliamentarians here, or members of parliament, or colleagues working for the parliament in their countries. So I'm going to give the floor to Honorable Venla Nelunkong. Are you here? Okay, so I'll move on to Shadrach from Kenya.
Thank you, Divine, and I think this is a very good opportunity. I want to greet you, all of you. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. And Shadrach, you have 5 minutes, because of time.
I know you gave me 5 minutes, so I am prepared for 5 minutes. So when you gave me 5 minutes, I asked myself, what am I going to do with 5 minutes? So I said I will share something that I think will encourage us all to start thinking of how the achievement of the SDGs should be or will be achieved. Now, I want to just put together what all the speakers have said and use one word to say that if we are going to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, we are supposed to be creative. We are going to innovate and come up with number 1, innovative or creative communication strategies. Number 2, we are going to work to come up with creative policies. So then I asked myself, I can't explain all those concepts. They are huge concepts. But then I asked myself, what is this animal called creativity? I mean, if we understood what creativity is, then we can work in our different ways to figure out how to create creative communication strategies and creative policies. That's what I'm doing here in Kenya. I'm trying to help individuals and organizations. I am trying to help my member of parliament to create innovative policies, which will be a solution to different issues. So before I say what creativity is, let me mention that, like Dr. said, food security or achieving zero hunger for me is the anchor of every SDG, because life is anchored in us getting food to eat. So without food, we can't sustain life. So it is important to know that food security is the basis of our life. And if we lose this, then we lose everything. So I just go direct to what is creativity. This morning, when I was reading through a book, I realized I found something that I thought it was important. So there's an essay that was written by someone called S.I. Hayakawa. He wanted to define what is creativity. And I want to give 4 things that he said are what makes someone creative. Number 1, he said that a creative person looks at the world with own eyes, not the eyes of others. So for you to be creative in formulating policies which are innovative, which are going to address the issues that we are facing, we have to look at it from our own eyes, not be blinded by what other people are saying. So that is 1. Number 2, the author says that creative person is able to attain and play with, entertain and play with ideas that average person will consider a downright mistake. So if we are going to solve the challenges that we are facing right now as young people, we have to sometimes do things that people look at and say, this is a mistake. If we are going to start a policy, like now there is something that I've done. I did an article on Tuesday, and I was saying, as the country looks at the subsidy of fertilizers, we need to look at other things that will come with it that can help people get engaged in agriculture. And one thing I pointed out is digital soil testing. This can give young people, because we have the digital capacity, we have the ability and the skills. This is something that we can use to get engaged in the agriculture sector. We know that young people have shunned agriculture. The reason, we have so many factors that contribute that. But one of the way that we can get into the sector is by using the digital skills that we have. And soil testing using digital tools, I see it as a way to get ourselves back into the agriculture sector. So the third one, this is what the author says, that all new ideas sound foolish at the first because they are new. You know, we are going to suggest some things here. And once we suggest some things, then those who have been in the field for a long time, they will say, that's a mistake. What is it? That can't work. But so long as we are able to see what we are supposed to do, then those ideas with time, they will become, people will start seeing the sense in it. So for us to solve food security issues, there are things that we are going to do that will seem to others a mistake. But if we are convinced that this is what we need to do, then it could help us, or it will help us propel us to solve or to attain the SDGs. The last one, this is what the author says, that a genuinely creative person believing in his creation is able to endure loneliness. Sometimes when we are going to propose policies, when we're going to propose communication strategies, people will shun us. They will say, this is illogical, it's not going to work. So it is going to take courage for us to stand with the creativity, with the ideas that we think are going to assist us. We are going to have the courage to remain and stand and continue talking about it. That is when we are going to achieve the sustainable development goals. And as I finish, I want to insist and encourage all of us to remember that food security is the anchor of every SDG that we are looking. And for them to be achieved, we have to start from achieving food security. And Dr. Adepe, I will want to see what you're doing, the communication strategies that you have put in place, so that we can see what is it that people will see and say, this is foolish, it's not going to work. I think, Divine, I will leave it there because you gave me 5 minutes, and I think I've used that 5 minutes to help us understand what we are going to do to achieve the SDGs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
very much, my brother Shadrach. Thank you for always honoring our invitation. And if we have questions, we can use the chat box because of time. Yes. So I'm going to move over to the next speaker, Sophia. Sophia is actually part of the US Bar Association in New York City. So Sophia, you have the floor.
I had to unmute myself. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm actually Sophia Marshkovsky-Roma, and I am the co-chair of the United Nations Committee at the New York City Bar Association. So I wanted to take the opportunity for just about half a second here from New York to commend you on all your monumental efforts, from Divine to all of his esteemed colleagues, in bringing this session to fruition, and in all that you're doing for the sustainability of the youth in Africa. As you know, we've been very, very badly hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. I wanted to address a little bit about that and the predictions of how COVID hit the African continent. But aside from that, the fact that the global wars and COVID has taken a toll on everyone, there has been a project that I was spearheading at the New York City Bar Association when I was a member of the International Affairs Committee and the Human Rights team. We spearheaded a project on the disparity of what happened to the statistical disparity of what happened during COVID-19 and how our minority and communities in the US had been suffering far worse and had been marginalized far worse and had many more deaths, especially in sectors where there was not enough healthcare for our African-American and Hispanic population. A lot of youths also lost their children when they were young mothers, having no healthcare system for them to be supported. A lot of young mothers lost their small kids, and a lot of youngsters and youth lost their parents, which was devastating. So this is very important to consider in terms of how it's changed the landscape for sustainability and youth development. Further, I wanted to just briefly discuss Africa is blessed to have the world's largest population, obviously, and I think the largest youth population. We have a medium of, I think, 19.5 is the medium age there. Hence, it's vital to steer young folks into the direction of sustainability, vitality, viability, and, of course, culpability for a sustainable future. So we wish to take the part in the process of creating jobs and cultivating African entrepreneurs for a prosperous African community in the year 2030, which is hopefully a sustainable goal. We're living in the age of artificial intelligence, gaming. The World Wide Web is vast and growing. And the aim is still, however, in my opinion, is to foster human intelligence, which remains a beacon of hope for humanitarian global society and for civil society. And yes, recently it looks like we don't have much of a civil society, granted the unwarranted war in Ukraine by the Russian aggression, but nonetheless, African youth need to be well versed in what's happening in the world of the web and all its dissemination. And yes, they need to learn coding. That's also very important. Not a single soul should be held back, as has been said, or left back. And we need young people to table work, to network, to make decisions, and to take postures, for the goal is not a simple one to achieve, but the path is lucid, and it's lucid with acuity, in my opinion. We must, as NGOs and as organizations, provide African youth with the skills and the infrastructure to be able to open up employment opportunities, which are sorely lacking. It's a brave and bold continent, and to see progress in Africa, we must curtail poverty, unemployment, and address the lack of education, invest in technology, engineering, and mathematics. And there's also need and a yearning for global collaboration to lift up the spirit of African youth, and that's what we hope to do. I mean, after all, herein is where our future lies, in our youth, in the hands of the young and in the curious, and obviously the capable, as long as they have the tools to do so. Togetherness is in our hands. We aim to achieve our goals in the spirit of collaboration, which is why we're here today, which is why we have so many astute expert participants. And in this steadfast efforts for a sustainable future on this continent, we hopefully will pair up to do our due diligence as an NGO. So thank you so much, and I as an entity. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Sophia, my very good friend, Sophia. I remember when we met at the UN Day in New York. It was so interesting. Thanks very much for being here with us. And we are very, very grateful for your support. So any questions to be sent on the chat box for Sophia as well. Yeah. Now we are going to move on to the next honorable member of parliament from Cameroon. Yes, Vela. Honorable Vela, are you there? You have to unmute yourself. Good. Yes. Over to you, please. Over to you, please.
Okay, good afternoon to everybody on board.
Can you put your video? Yes, thank you.
Okay. I want to thank Mr. Divine for recognizing me. I want to say good afternoon to everyone on board. It indeed is a great pleasure that I can be part of this launching. I do thank the organizers for this wonderful job that they are doing. And I still pray they continue to do so that the African youth, especially those from the suburbs, will be able to come up, and the women too, in order for us to attain zero hunger. I am a member of parliament from Jakiri in the northwest region of Cameroon. And I'm in the Social, Cultural, and Family Affairs Committee in the National Assembly. What I would want to talk on, just a little bit of something concerning the women. You know, the women, especially those in the rural area, because I'm from a rural area, so I'm talking about my own place. They do a lot, they sacrifice in order to put food on their table, and why not the nation? They are the brain basket, the food basket of our nation. I wish to say, when as these women, they struggle at their individual ends, there is no means for them to produce in large quantity. If they could be provided with machines that they could produce greater quantity, and the road infrastructure even is not even the best. The farm to market roads is not easy, but these women, they are doing their best in order to see that they can put food on the table. And I want to thank the person who spoke for FAO. If they could find means that they could connect, create a way that they can connect these women in order to get what they want, I feel they will be doing a wonderful job for the women of the local area to produce more food so that our nations, and why not the whole world, will have, we achieve zero hunger one day as we move on. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be with you.
Thank you very much, Mom. Thank you very much indeed. And I want to underscore here that during the Food System Summit, I think last year, she was part of the women we actually discussed, share who intervened during the Food System Summit process when we're engaging women, rural women, into the Food System Summit dialogue. So thank you very much, Mom. After a year, we are here now talking about the SDG Summit next year. And we're really looking forward to working with you in your community, because we have close to 11 schools in Bamenda we are already working with, and we think that my team is going to contact you to see how they can actually engage with your constituency at Jakiri. So we think that we really feel that your relevance within the network is very, very recognized. So I'm going to give the floor to the next speaker, who is my very good friend Zenda. Zenda is actually the coordinator for GCSAYN EU Hub at the Netherlands. So Zenda, thank you very much for being here and always supporting what we're doing. Please, you have the floor. Give us your 3 minutes intervention. Over.
Thank you very much, Divine, and welcome everybody. Very privileged to be here in this great network and typing a lot of your messages, which I think is very valuable. And I'm talking from the Netherlands, and I'm glad to be forming this European hub to connect with youth working on climate smart agriculture, SDGs, etc. Because I think we need to do this in a global movement. I think it's only possible. I'm very privileged to be born in a country where they do a lot and have achieved a lot with agriculture, but we are facing a lot of challenges because I think we didn't look ahead to the future too much, and the challenges we are coping now with is hopefully not that other countries are dealing with in the future. So I think what I want to address is 3 points. I think it's already said a lot that through the connection of digital infrastructure, especially the new generation of youth is able to unlock so much more knowledge next to academic reports, but digestible, workable information that they can use to start working in an agriculture and make the leap forward on, from my perspective, the mistakes we made relating to the sustainability issues we are making in Europe. We have to recope, we have to look at soil health, etc., etc. And I think it would be interesting for young people all across the globe who are taking steps in agriculture. They can learn from that. So working on digital infrastructure, but also sharing information that connects to young people in a way that they find attractive and are able to digest. That can be through gamification, through images, videos, etc. All these kind of experiential ways of learning we could do. We are also trying to facilitate this in this program we are setting up with GCSAYN, but we also are working on this with other countries, starting from the Task Force Rural Africa, who made one of those advices. And I hope there will be lots more hubs. So just to look into my second point as what the hub could be, I think it's good for new generations, but also for all the stakeholders to have central points of access to, maybe if you're not have the digital ability to connect, that you can go there to do that, but also feel and be part of this community in a positive way and experience the potential of reaching out to like-minded young people, like-minded stakeholders who are able and willing to help you. And I think it's very interesting that these hubs are created through GCSAYN, but also we work on that and much, much more, that we are making the social infrastructure happen. And this is going straight across the formal institutions I am aware of, but I think it's really interesting to learn, because through these hub and digital gateways, I think young people are able to find solutions very quickly, much quicker than, with all due respect for big institutions, but then the big institutions, to make things happen tomorrow and not long past that. So, and that's my last point is that if we create these activities, I think we come from a world where getting financial income is the solemn and one only goal. And I think we all experience that we have to do activities that I think are able to bring full returns, not just financial value, which of course is very important. But if we spread those values, not just on financial, but also social value, ecological value, but also inspirational value, I think we are able to work on these SDGs much more effective. Because from our Western European point of view, I think we have been too selfish in looking at creating lots of profit, lots of high production, etc., etc. But if we take a step back and even out this with the other ones, I think we're in a global community. We can get much more valuable, sustainable, and healthy food for everybody in the long term. And this is what I hope, which we can do with young people in the driver's seat. So these are just from 3 points. We need to unlock the youth potential more. We need to create this interaction and pollination through these hubs. And we need to include a lot more returns than just the financial one. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you at some other time, at some other stage, working together to create impact.
Yeah, Zende, I think you should mention about the engine. I think we just take 1 minute.
Okay. Yeah, but if I talk all about these great ideas, I'll be talking all day. But yes, we are working on from these elements I just mentioned, also with a multi-stakeholder platform called Engine, which we want to make room for the next generation in agriculture. So I will type the web address in the text. But it's an initiative where we have a multi-stakeholder engagement, which is youth-led, which are working on for the sustainable development goals. We only started a year. We have 15 partners already, and I think it's really exciting. Like the name says, the engine is starting to run, sustainable engine, and it's, I think, really worthwhile for you to be part of or take notice of. I4Nature, my organization, is the secretariat. So if you have questions, please contact me. Thanks for that, Divine.
Thank you very much, Sander. Thank you very much indeed. And of course, you forgot to mention that GCSAYN is one of the coalition members, founding members. Yeah, I'm just mentioning it. So now I think we've heard from very, very important and very key informations from colleagues. So colleagues, some of us were asking about how communication, how SDGs can be communicated to the rural communities, how SDGs are being implemented, what's the communication strategy. Before I give the floor to Dr. Kingsley, I'm going to give an opportunity for Evans, who has been able to, lead this process in Malawi with this university as far as linguistics is concerned. So Evans, you have 3 minutes. Please tell us what you've been able to do and how you think we can actually join efforts to shape this agenda forward. Over to you, Evans. Evans.
Hello.
Yes.
Thank you, Divine. Yeah, so just a brief talk on what we've been doing. And basically, I wanted to talk on how best we can create and nurture the synergies between African languages and sustainable development goals, of course, and all other international global goals, so that they are able to be implemented effectively here in Africa. Basically, my thought line in choosing this topic is basically based on there seems to be basically a disjoint between when we're talking of this implementation of sustainable development goals at the local level, mostly here in Africa. What role does language play in that? Are these two complementary? Is there a synergy that needs to be nurtured at all? So there's been a lot of debate from the linguistic side, because there seems to be, these two seem to be disjointed, and others are even quoting the SDGs themselves to say issues of language are not actually mentioned in the SDGs themselves, meaning that language is to some extent on the periphery of everything, but the two are really important because they work hand in hand. If we want to implement effectively these SDGs, they need to be understood by the people who we are targeting, the poor people. And most of these poor people are the people who are minority speakers. They speak minority languages. And if we talk of the sustainable development goals, we all know they are internationally oriented in terms of the language, in terms of the framing. So for them to be understood, implemented at local level, they need to be localized. And language plays a very crucial role. So most of the languages in Africa are not as developed. They are underdeveloped, such that most of them it's difficult to use them to communicate technical and sometimes internationally generated frameworks like the SDGs. So there's need for a rethink of strategies so that we take these languages on board and make sure that whatever is designed at international level is accessible at local level. So what is happening in Malawi, for example, one of the things that interested me a lot was the Ministry of Information. They decided that we should localize, we should translate these sustainable development goals into Malawian languages. So I was interested in the project. It took place last year in 2021. So I asked for the material because as a linguist, I expected that I'll be part of that process as linguists who participate in the actual process. So we started digging into the project to say how was it done, who participated, and at the end of the day, what is the quality of the material that has been translated at all. So that was a project that I and my colleague Debola Ndalama undertook, and we wrote a paper on that. So some of the things that we found out was that overall, it's a good initiative to translate them, but there are some problems. Like I mentioned, most of the African languages, they are underdeveloped to be used effectively to communicate technical, scientific, technological, and even advanced information, advanced in the sense of information that is created for a global audience, like the SDGs. So to localize them, there is need for even involvement of expertise, the language experts, the development experts, let them collaborate so that by the end of the day, we have a translation that is accessible. Otherwise, what we found in the study that we did was that most of the translation itself, it also needed the retranslation because most of the material was not as accessible as maybe the ministry itself would have loved to the local people who have limited literacy in maybe English and even advanced things like the SDGs themselves. So that's why I was so interested, and I was also interested in what is happening elsewhere here in Africa. That's when I came to know about Divine's project in West Africa, in Cameroon specifically. There was another, I think, in East Africa. So I was saying, these are happening in Africa. Why don't we have like an African agenda in terms of localizing all these things? Because it's not only the SDGs, the African Union, the 2063 vision of the AU, there are just a lot, even at a regional, national level. All those need to be localized because most of them are framed in English, and definitely it means we are creating a cutoff in terms of who is able to access such important information for these important documents that guide development in our country. So yeah, this is a really good project that Divine and your friends are actually advancing. And as a university, because I'm working in the languages department, we are really interesting, and we really are open to working together, assisting each other, to making sure that we have appropriate and effective localizations of all these things in our languages so that they're accessible. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, what is interesting is you saw the work I was doing with my team. I'm happy to inform you that the UN staff that interviewed us is here on this call. And I'm going to invite Dr. Kingsley to take over from you. Yes, Dr. Kingsley, over to you.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much, Divine. I hope you can hear me very well.
Very, very well.
My name is Kingsley Igobo. I'm in the Department of Global Communications, Africa Section, UN Secretariat in New York. Greetings from a very cold New York City this morning. We published the Africa Renewal magazine, which is a leading UN magazine on Africa, un.org/Africa Renewal, in case you have not seen that. What we usually do is focus on sustainable development goals and how they are being implemented in Africa. And then recently we started organizing webinars. In fact, Divine is one of the foundational members of that activity. We started organizing webinars also to raise awareness of SDGs and Agenda 2063. So today I'm going to talk about the SDGs. For the umpteenth time, I will say why it's important and also why the youth should get involved. And I'll give a few examples of what young people are doing in Africa. So I would say, first of all, let's dream a little bit for just a second. We are talking about a world without wars. where everyone lives a good life. People go to bed with stomachs filled with nutritious food. The gulf between developed and developing countries is narrowed. Women and women get equal opportunities. Modern infrastructure is accessible to everyone, including rural dwellers. So our MP from Cameroon would like that. And then we have a situation where climate change no longer threatens human existence. This is what the SDGs are all about. 17 goals, 169 targets to transform our lives, our world. But as I said, the operative phrase is if successfully implemented. So if successfully implemented. So we have challenges. We've had externalities, setbacks such as the war in Ukraine, the pandemic and other. But we have less than 8 years to accomplish that, and we don't have a lot of time left. Now, why should the young people get involved? Because the impact of actions we take today will bear fruits tomorrow, and tomorrow belongs to today's young people. So youth involvement, I must say, is particularly important for Africa, and here's why. Africa is the youngest continent. More than 60% of Africa's population is under 25 years. And by 2030, young Africans will constitute about 42% of the global youth population. That's a big deal. It's a huge resource that we know that, because we know that young people have a lot of energy, resourcefulness, imagination, ingenuity to effect positive change in their societies. So I would say that Africa's youth have no choice but to get involved at several levels. In my view, first of all, advocacy, holding leaders accountable, leaders in various countries, because they committed to the SDGs. So they have to let people know what they are doing to achieve the targets. Young people can contribute to policy debate and root for the right kind of political leadership in countries. And then young people can also take action, whether no matter how small and no matter the geographical location. The good news is that in Africa, in several countries in Africa, young people are already doing that, already implementing the SDGs. I meet them everywhere. I just came from COP27 last month, a few weeks ago actually, and I met hundreds of young Africans who are doing an incredible job in their countries. So, but I understand the challenges. I understand that it can be sometimes difficult to squeeze water out of stone, but I also know that young Africans have a never give up spirit. And here are a few examples that young people, what young people are doing in Africa. Where do we start? We better start from Divine, who is organizing this event. And as soon as SDGs were adopted in September 2015, he immediately started translating SDGs into vernaculars, and he's done that in many countries, Nigeria, Kenya, Mali, Morocco, Rwanda, and several other countries, to the point where it caught our attention and we decided that we must feature him in our magazine. And I know that he's also involved in climate smart agriculture in various countries. I want to talk also about Gwendolyn Myers, who was born during the war in Liberia. And her initial ambition was to be a doctor, but decided that she was going to pursue peace. And she set up the Messengers of Peace, which today has tens of thousands of young Africans. And they registered it as a non-governmental organization with the goal of engaging young people nationwide in volunteerism and peace building. And then I met a young man, in Egypt, 29-year-old medical doctor, who saw the devastating impact of climate change and decided to start planting trees. Dr. Dahiru Mohammed Hashim has planted more than 200,000 trees. I mean, he's getting some support from the UN system and the government, and he's not ready to give up. He says the local solution is the global solution. So he's starting from where he lives, and then thereby, and then later on, he's able to attract other people, other support. Then there's this guy in Uganda, his name is Timothy Laku, who is the CTO for Bringo Fresh, who uses online platform to connect farmers to consumers by aggregating and communicating data digitally on both supply and demand. So he's doing an incredible job, and a lot of people have been lifted out of poverty. And then finally, I would like to quickly highlight, because I'm told I have 5 minutes, I would like to quickly highlight the opportunities presented by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which basically consolidates a market of 1.2 billion. And that's huge. And it also ensures free movement of goods and services. So this is something that young entrepreneurs in Africa can take advantage of and do value addition across sectors. but again, I must emphasize in a sustainable way. So once more, I want to thank Divine for the invitation. I think you are doing a fantastic job, and more grace to your elbow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kingsley. Thank you very much indeed for the endless support. I still remember 2016 right now. And even when I was in New York of recent, we had a lot of work to do together. I'm so happy. And of course, your office really pledged that you're going to be supporting us, and we can see the support starting already. So we are very, very happy, Dr. Kingsley, for this tireless efforts. So if we have questions for Kingsley, we just have the chat box. And I'll be sharing his contact once we end this call. So I'm going to move to Dr. Valencia from UNESCO. Dr. Valencia is one of the GCSAYN board chair, and she's equally going to be supporting the virtual academy. So Dr. Valencia, please give us your 5-minute intervention.
Thank you, Divine. It's a pleasure being here with everybody. If I could share my screen, would that be possible?
Yes, let me do that. Let me try it here.
Yes, please.
No, 1 second.
Sure. Just a small presentation,
yes.
just to.
Are you okay now?
See how we can connect that. Just let me check. Sure, yes, it's good. I hope everybody sees that.
Yeah.
You see it?
Can you enlarge this a little bit?
Let me take it a little bit bigger. Just a second. Sorry about that. Seems it's not working. Okay. So I hope everybody can see. Let me put that a little bit. It's a big screen. Is it better?
Yeah.
Can you see it? Is it running?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to try to present and show you a little bit how that connects with my background, and get you a little bit introduced, about this, my scientific background. I'm mainly dealing with ecosystems for more than 25 years. If you can see correctly the slides, I'm going to present you a little bit, ecotourism as a tool to achieve sustainability for ecosystems as well as a society. And I'm really happy to be part of the board member of the GCSAYN, that they're doing a great effort, and their effort directly relates with the SDGs, as well as, this is the environment and humans. So I'm part of the Mediterranean experts on climate change. I'm also part of the reviewer of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change that most of you might know. Also the International Networking for Bioresource Management, that is mainly for South America and also India. General Secretary Board Member of the Association of Inter-Balkan Women Cooperation, that is dealing with the women and the role of women with all these actions. Also, the board of directors, as I said, this really great effort, but also International Council of the World Tourism Forum as relates to the international activity of myself. So this is us, this is Greece. So hello from Greece, everybody. It's fairly chilly as well here. It's not only in the New York. Ecotourism is a big issue, and we do know that it does provide a lot of income for a lot of the societies, and it touches many of the SDGs, not many, but all of the SDGs. So it really provides opportunities, to promote those sustainable ecosystems, as well as the humans, the society that they are related, and all these interactions that they take place, as well as the networking that we are doing right now for as a final outcome, the well-being of humans and the communities.
Alasia, we only see your
so
first slide.
Is it only the first slide?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so then I'm gonna stop doing the animation and I will just moving one slide by slide. So hopefully this one is gonna work.
Yeah.
So this is a slightly on my background. Can you see now?
Yes.
Good, thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. It usually has some problems. So this is where we are. We do have the SDGs and most of you do know the SDGs like this. You know, all 17, they're right there. But if we try to lay them down and see what is going on, we can see that the 4 basic ones that everybody should be piled up is dealing with the ecosystems that we're working on. And then we have the 8 more SDGs that they're working with the society. Then 4 of them, they are mainly targeting the economy of our world. And of course, you have the 17 that it piles up everything together. So when we're talking about ecotourism, we're talking about 3 main pillars. We're talking about the locals, that they're there, the profit that they get from the tourists, but also the ecosystem that everything, you know, piles together there. So it's the base of the SDGs right here. And for me, for us, that we're working with the environment, it's really hard to maintain the balance in order to have sustainable profits for long-term for our societies. So this right here, to maintain it, is really hard. That's what I'm really feeling very strong about this, because we do want to go to the nature. We want to enjoy everything that is there throughout 24/7. And Africa has a lot to offer, a lot of unique ecosystems, and not only Africa, worldwide, but Africa is really good. So having this in mind as sustainable development goals and how things are coming up, and based on our nature as humans, most likely everything comes upside down, and then we have the environment very slightly at the base, and profit tops everything above all. And this is where the unbalance comes. It's really hard to work with our nature, but if we have this in our minds, then most likely we should be able to guide people and maintain a balance while also, you know, practicing ecotourism, enjoying the ecosystems and having the profits as well. So in Greece, we have some problems. You know, this is one of the examples that I can show you right here. Things that they come up when tourists come into our environment and they don't know, they're not aware. So problems, they come up. So what they do, they have some small turtles for, this is the example, small turtles for their kids when they come to Greece, then they leave them. And then you have the red turtle right here mixing up with the native turtles in Greece, and we have the pollution in genetics. This is just a slight example. This is example that is dealing with all the negative outcomes that we can have, and it's really hard to control that. So how can we actually work on that? How can we maintain those environments and maintain this balance? Is really hard. We're trying to enhance sustainability. Well-trained personnel is very well. So what Divine is here doing, and what everybody is trying to do here with this academy that it's being created, it's part of this, trying to train people, trying to inform people, and hopefully, you know, be able to sustain those ecosystems in the better, for the better off everybody. So introducing environmentally friendly solutions, this is one of those things that I'm trying to work, you know, introduce nature-based solutions. So work with and embracing nature. Most likely you see, this is the background that I have. This is one of the UNESCO preserves in Greece, Mount Olympus. And we really need to work along with the environment in order to be able to have the best outcome. So we're talking about agriculture. I was very fortunate enough to many years ago as a student to be part of this action, working with nature-based solutions, what can be worked in Africa, but all countries worldwide, and have cleaner waters, more production, more benefits, while achieving those. Also, in urban settings. Right here, I've been in an international meeting in Korea. They use their waters, they use their rivers, and at the same time, people are having a good time and then having income, but they also can get food out of that area, not only for luxury. We have this also in Greece, maintaining our biodiversity, the animals and the flora and fauna of the area. So it's really hard to do that. And the education should be part of that, should be play a huge role. And this is what we're trying to do here at the UNESCO. We're trying to introduce that knowledge. We're trying to collaborate and help, and that can be done through the teaching as we're doing here, and virtual approaching people, many ways, pamphlets, what have been done with translated in the 60 languages of Africa. This is amazing. This is one of the first things ever achieved. And we really have to clap based on the effort that has been done. It's an amazing effort. So that is great. And of course, dissemination, moving worldwide, going to international meetings, being part of this climate change and the next steps to be followed for the 2030, it's a great effort. So everybody's contributing with all our role, this international boards that we're part here with Divine and the whole team of Africa. It's really amazing, and what it can be achieved is outstanding. I've been in many countries. There are many issues and many problems. Nonetheless, we see those problems as stepping stones to actually give the best solutions that we can based on our experience. And I do believe that practicing tourism, ecotourism with respect to the environment and the humans is really important. And we can benefit both, profit-based, but also the environment as well by protecting it. And education is one of the ways, but educating younger ages. I'm educating, university students, but I think these should be placed at the base, and the really kids should start growing with good things in their mind as habits. So that's about me. I'm really happy to be part of this great effort trying to introduce the Sustainable Development Goals, because aiming for sustainability is one of the ways to preserve ecosystems for the not for us, it's okay, but for the generations to come. Thank you. I will be more than happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Valencia. You've been with us since the Food System Summit process. Now we are working towards the SDG Summit, and we're very keen to ensure that we include all the target groups, the stakeholders, and so on and so forth. So before I give the floor to Jemima, who is the president or the co-chair for the persons with disabilities in agriculture for Sustainable Africa, which is one of our flagship programs, I'm going to allow Michael Davison who's an expert in climate change and agriculture for the U.S. State Department. So Michael, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Divine. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to speak very briefly on with a different attitude, I guess. I want to speak about the urgency and the failures. And then if we have enough time, talk about what we really need to do immediately. I've been working on implementing climate smart agricultural programs in East Africa, 6 countries in East Africa, West Africa, Sub-Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East. And we have failed. We are looking, if we compare what we need now and in 2040, we're looking at a gap of 60% in caloric intake in Sub-Saharan Africa. If we continue to farm the way we're farming today, we're going to need another 500 million hectares to provide food. And when people talk about food security, people often omit the criticality of nutrition. Many of the contracts that smallholder farmers have with corporations to grow for them are starches and sugars and bereft of any nutritional value. Over the last 10 years, we in the West have invested $1.2 trillion in sub-Saharan Africa to improve food security, and the basic tool for doing it is irrigation. We're talking about arid and sub-arid regions. Irrigation along the lines of climate smart irrigation, which is exactly what I do. So over the last 10 years, that $1.2 trillion, what have we gotten for it? The percentage of growers in sub-Saharan Africa 10 years ago who irrigated was 2%. Today, it's 2.3%. Poverty, there's smoke and mirrors in terms of statistics. Poverty has increased in sub-Saharan Africa, stunting everybody on this hall, I hope knows what stunting is. Stunting has increased in West Africa and is holding steady in East Africa. We have an 11 million gigaton gap in greenhouse gas emissions by 2040 if we're going to keep temperatures below 2 degrees. So what we need, in my view, is to first face the fact that we have failed, and all the systems that we have put in have failed. You will hear from the 1 Acre Fund, you'll hear from IFAD, you'll hear from people at the World Bank that the programs have increased production and reduced poverty by 10%. Well, the average income for a smallholder farmer in Kenya is 12 cents a day. Increasing that by 10% is another penny. So you can see that people are applauding themselves with no reason, and there's nothing benign about this. So my view is this: I applaud Divine and everything that he's doing and the Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network. What we need to do is professionalize agriculture. We need to professionalize this. We had a lovely talk by Sophia in the United Nations. She's an attorney. I would never go into a trial without a professional attorney, someone who is trained. So my question to Divine and the Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network is, that people really understand irrigation? Do they understand uniformity? How to design an irrigation system? Do we understand fertigation? How to apply nutrients? Because I can tell you that most people who are implementing programs like this do not. Do we know how to pick out hybrid seeds? If we only do those 3 things, and we can teach these things very quickly, only those 3 things: how to design a proper irrigation system for 1, 2, 3 hectares, how to take a soil sample and provide the nutrients, and how to select hybrid seeds. Only those 3 things. Right now, the average maize production is less than 1 ton per hectare. We can move to 3, 4, and 5 tons per hectare. I'm Israeli as well as American. I can tell you that in Israel, in very arid conditions, we're at 12 to 15 tons per hectare. All of these things are possible, but we have to understand that we need to start on the ground level at professionalizing agriculture. Otherwise, you can sense I'm a little angry. If we don't make changes, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I think we have to be angry. I think we need to be angry. That's what I have to say, Divine. Thank you.
Paul, thank you for actually being part of us. Thank you for guiding us. Thank you for all your tricky questions and key plan points. I will call them plan points. Let's all within GCSAYN try to see how we can implement these 3 plan points to be able to better and mechanize the agricultural value chain and transform the agri-food system. Thank you very much indeed. And we all know SDG 1 and 2 are actually underscoring that part. Now, I'm going to give the floor to Jemima. Jemima, please keep it very short because we have some couple of speakers again. So you have 3 minutes, Jemima. So tell us, what do you have in mind?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. My name is Jemima Kutata from Mombasa, Kenya. I work with the Association for the Physically Disabled of Kenya. I am a champion of inclusion and disability rights. When it comes to agriculture, agriculture is a vital sector. Many living in poverty across the developing countries where I come from need at least to be included when it comes to agriculture, because it's the only way to put away the poverty. But in that large sector, which can really improve the economy of this nation, persons with disabilities have been excluded for a long time. For a long time, persons with disabilities are left to live in the rural areas, living with relatives and even well-wishers. But because of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and also the Disability Act, at least now we can see that persons with disabilities are not left behind, as per our SDGs that we do not need to leave anyone behind. So when it comes to agriculture, they are left behind. And also there is non-disabled persons assume that persons with disability are not able to undertake the farming activities. So like in the rural areas, we have a lot of workforce in the rural areas where we have also persons with disabilities who are living there. But most of the time when women and young people go farming, persons with disabilities are left behind. And also when it comes to another thing is the communication barrier, because I know that Divine has given me very short time. When it comes to the communication barrier, most of persons with disability, for example, the visually impaired and also the deaf, we do not have sign language interpreters when the agriculture departments are training people on the ground. So there is that challenge of communication when it comes to input of persons with disabilities. And also in the same concept of the communication barrier, you find that some people do not want to mingle with persons with disabilities because some people in Africa think disability is due to curse, or some of them think that it's a contagious thing when it comes to disability, that when they mingle with persons with disability, they can also acquire disability. And this is an area that we need to give them more skills and also have sign language interpreters to be able to help when it comes to capacity building and also giving them opportunity, because once they are given an opportunity and they are given tools to work with, light low projects tools, they can be able to do wonders when it comes to agriculture. And then another thing is addressing the negative local attitude. Everything in disability begins with the attitude, because once the community learns about inclusion of persons with disabilities, once they learn about persons with disability on inclusion, they'll be able at least to understand disability better, and they'll be able also to include them when it comes to activities, because once they learn how to handle them, it will be easier for persons with disability to come out and tell them, if these tools are made like this, they're going to help me be able just to participate like any other able-bodied person. Thank you so much for now. That is all I have for today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, Stephen, no, I told you to post it, not to share. You don't have to share. Post it, don't share, please. Yes. So thank you very much, Jamima, for this very insightful. We are happy that you actually understand the fact that we are given space, and the UN system has actually included persons with disability in the whole process. So I'm going to move on to the next speaker. I'll give the floor to Dr. Odu from University of Kabianga in 2 minutes to tell us how Kabianga is at the forefront in making this happen. Yes, Prof, we are very sorry because of time. We have about 3-4 people to bring on board. So just take 2 minutes very fast and tell us how Kabianga is working towards achieving the SDGs.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, very well.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Francis Onyango from University of Kabianga here in Kenya. University of Kabianga is situated in one of the highlands in Kenya, and it is a tea producing area. When we talk about youths, actually the main purpose, the major clients of the university are actually youths. And we are focusing here in this meeting today about youths who are aged between 15 to 24. And most of our students are aged between 17 and slightly above 24 years old. So we are actually addressing, personally, I'm here talking about the right client in question to address the SDGs. When we look at the youths in SDGs, we are thinking about on how to mold these students or youths, basically to reduce impacts on climate change, to reduce the level of unemployment in Africa and in Kenya and even globally. We are talking about the awareness about gender equality and among others. Poverty is also there. How do we empower them to address or to reduce the level of poverty in Africa and globally? One of the ways that we do this is to empower the youths with skills to either employ themselves, get decent jobs, not just any job, but get decent jobs there, and be an impact to the community. And therefore, as we come and train the youths, we are thinking of how to mold their thinking to a perspective of fitting them, their thinking into sustainable development goals, such that when they leave the university, they are able actually to assist the society in solving the problems in the society. And therefore, areas in terms of research and innovation, as others had alluded to, are very key ingredients in skills which are being impacted in the youths. And therefore, as we gather here today, we want to think of how do we enhance our research so that we reach actually to the youths? How do we bring technologies which are more adaptable or which can be adopted by the youths as they leave the education institutions? And therefore, we are happy as the institution to partner with Divine in his adventures, especially in reaching out to the youth. And we'll be so much happy to be an institution of innovationness or innovativeness towards bringing up new technologies that can make the youths adopt or enhance the agenda, which is Agenda 2030 of Sustainable Development Goals. Otherwise, in just that short speech, thank you so much, Divine.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I have to let you know that Kabianga University is actually the regional office for Africa for GCSAYN and equally hosting the Center of Excellence. Yeah, so we are very, very happy to have Kabianga part of us. I'm going to give the floor now to Buendo. Buendo, we know you're part of the house, so you have just 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes to articulate your points, please.
Thank you very much, Divine, and thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Like Divine has said, since I'm part of the house, I would just want to say that for us as the Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network, and of course the African Youth for Sustainable Development Training Project, which we are supporting, we recognize the fact that for us to ensure that the youth are engaged in what are effectively engaged in what we are doing, they need to understand that currently we are, as a global family, we are facing this sustainability challenge in terms of sustaining life on Earth as the biggest challenge that we have. Therefore, we need to make sure that they do understand the competing or sustainability pillars of the environment, the social and the economical aspects, and that we need to live in harmony with nature, which will require us to understand the issues and concepts of sustainable living, production, and consumption. Of course, everyone has talked about the population and the demographics of the youth, which makes them critical in being at the core of sustainable development goals and their achievement, the 2030 agenda. But again, research and studies have shown that globally, the youth lack trust in traditional institutions, and the absence of inclusive and safe platforms would definitely heighten the risk that they will use an archaic methods to bring about change. So we need to take this in a perspective as we are delivering and supporting the youth. And from the African Youth for Sustainable Development Training Project, we want to take it beyond the theory. Once we educate the youth in the education for sustainable development, we want to make these things practical. That's why you have heard a lot of presenters. We are saying that we are affiliated to them. The University of Kabianga in Kenya, just the last past presenter, we are going to be partnering with them to ensure that beyond just us taking to the young people in terms of understanding the 17 sustainable development goals, they are going to be able to apply, so that we are preparing for them to be leaders, to taking the leadership in terms of policy making, in terms of ensuring that they are stimulating change, in terms of being innovative and designing the solutions to the problems that we face, as well as ensuring that the education that we are providing is sustained and is also extended to their peers and to the generations to come. Of course, this is the only way we are going to secure the future. In conclusion, I would like to say that with the global support of the partners and donors that we have, as exhibited, even witnessed by the attendance to this call, we as the African Youth for Sustainable Development Training Project, we have a plan and a goal to between December 22 and December 2030 to reach out to up to 10 million youth across Africa, and probably train over 7,000 youth who we want to endorse as Sustainable Development Goal Goodwill Ambassadors. And we expect that is going to create a critical mass of youth that are going to help us achieve or contribute effectively to the Sustainable Development Goals. I would want to end here and give back the floor to Divine. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much indeed. We are so, and I have to make it clear here that Bwendo is the team leader for this innovative program. Thank you very much, Bwendo. So we are giving the floor now to Dr. Wangila. Dr. Wangila, are you there? Hello, Dr. Wangila, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Divine.
Perfect. So you have the floor. Over.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much. I've been given very few minutes, but probably before I go to what I'm supposed to say, allow me to mention 3 very key things that I have picked from here. And as I do this, probably is in form of questions to one person who has given us some insight, Michael. I'm looking at floods and how they intersect with agriculture and climate change. And of course, this once in a while becomes a pandemic, yeah? And I'm imagining we are looking at nutrients to agricultural products. Have we ever thought about harnessing this water from very rich nutrient places and use it in nutrient deficient areas? One, of course, will be lessening the impact of soil erosion. And number 2, instead of using organic manure, we are harnessing the nutrients themselves. Maybe this is something that I've been bothered all along, and I'm wondering, how do we harness this? Number 2, of course, we are talking about women and youth. And of course, one thing that is very true, when you go out and you find a man or a woman tilling the shamba to make sure that food is on the table, one key thing is you'll never find them alone. You'll find children alongside them. You'll find the youth alongside them. Even if it were to do with the climate change, they are trying to probably, close up gaps for erosion or whatever the case. You'll find when you're planting that tree, there's always this woman, there's always this man, but around them, there is a youth. So when you look at this, the mentorship aspect is very key. And I think this is what we are talking about. How do we bring, just like Madam Irena mentioned, we want to harness the energy, the capabilities of what the children down there have as they grow up. They have a reason to say we need good, smart agriculture. We need to empower the society. We need to empower the youth and even the women. Now, as well, I'm asking myself, while we are doing all this, what challenges do we face? And one of them is the human rights aspect. One of the things that I do at the University of Kabianga is to look at the women and gender issues and how this issue of human rights impacts on their ability to give back to the society. And of course, you'll find they are facing a lot of challenges. And these are some of the key issues that we need to address. Besides the women, you'll also find the children being impacted of the same. Now, away from the women, I am also looking at the human rights of children. And yes, we want to input the SDG goals to these kids. We want them to understand what about the SDG goals. We want them to understand agriculture and how it impacts to the communities in form of environmental impacts. We want to make them understand that global climate is key to every aspect around them. But where do we begin? Then education is very key. So allow me to just share a bit of, if I can be given the rights, I can share something here. I think I don't have the rights, but of course, my name is Dr. Wangila Fanis. I'm a director of gender development at the University of Kabianga. And besides that, I'm also, it is disabled, so I can't share anything. I wish I could be able to share.
Yeah, let me see.
That, yeah, as you do that. So besides that, I'm also the director in charge of Njoro Pressure Schools, which is now the headquarter for WASA. WASA is Women in Agriculture and Sustainable, women. Am I given the rights to share? If I can go ahead.
I'm trying to see, but it's not going through. Let me see.
Okay, so we are talking about women in Africa for smart agriculture. And as I do this, I'm reflecting back on what I have done so far in terms of food security and how to harness salt from plants where women take lead. Besides the women, the children also play a role. And of course, the youth as well. And the question is, at the end of it all, do we solve the challenges that these children have? The reason why I am at Njoro Precious Girls Schools and of course the Njoro Precious Primary Boarding School, where we are talking about children between the ages of 13 all the way up to 17, where of course WASA comes in because we are talking about 15 years and moving on to 24 years. This is a place where we nurture the talents of young people. Besides offering academics, we do the 844 system, and agriculture is one key subject. Geography is another key subject as far as climate issues is concerned. And of course, we take issues with practicals, which I believe, considering this and putting together with STEM knowledge, they should be able to play around with the ecosystem. They should be able to, appreciate what is surrounding them. So this is one key place that I want to encourage all of us to, collaborate with, because then we are saying, how do we harness the ability the youth have? Look at them when they're playing in the field. Look at the energy they put in. Now translate it into the SDG goals. Let them understand what it is and let them translate it into agriculture and making a global climate state, which is good enough even for tomorrow. So a few of the things that we do at Njoro Precious, apart from what I have mentioned, is mentorship, which is very key. And of course, we educate them on small agricultural plots where they do plant a few and many other things and translate them back in their rural areas. And with this, I believe we are playing a key part as far as SDG goals is concerned. And in this case, I want to appreciate Divine for bringing in Njoro Precious and also making it a headquarter for women in Africa, and of course with agriculture issues and global climate that is smart. Thank you very much. I wish I could have shown what we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wangila. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, I'm going to give the floor now to Irene from IRIS. Irene, please take over. You have 3 minutes. We are trying to extend a little bit because we have a lot of interesting speakers. We have a lot of interesting knowledge here we have to grab. So Irene, you have 3 minutes. Can you take the floor, please? Irene from IRIS.
Thank you very much, Divine. My name is Irene Kimani from the Rift Valley Institute of Science and Technology. Before I start, I want to recognize the presence of our Chief Principal, Mr. Sami Chemoiwa, with whose blessings and permission I speak today on his behalf. So I've just picked a lesson from the presentations earlier, and Michael actually said that we should professionalize agriculture. And I feel like TVETs are actually the pathway through which we can achieve the SDGs and through which we can professionalize agriculture through long-term courses and also through short-term courses that we offer. As we would all know, particularly for those from Kenya, we have about 2,000 TVET institutions, both public and private. And we are, the TVET institutions actually host youth between the age of 18 to 25 years. And therefore, TVET is a very key entry point and a fundamental link to the acquisition of knowledge and skills, which are actually aimed at enabling the youth to access decent and gainful work. TVET skills, as we would also know, are attuned to development opportunities at both the local and national level. And we cannot talk about TVET without thinking economic growth, thinking environmental sustainability, and also thinking social inclusion. Therefore, TVET is very key in promoting socioeconomic development and by extension, the achievement of the SDGs. So TVET is actually very key in production of skilled workers, craftsmen, and also artisans for the industries. We are speaking agriculture, engineering, entrepreneurship, it's all rounded. And the key, the youth, as we know, are key assets in enhancing sustainability in food security and other issues like climate smart agriculture practices, greening, creation of jobs, and so on and so forth. So the role of TVET really is to support capacity building, but capacity building is not enough, that we need to do more. So there is an aspect of skill acquisition, there's an aspect of supplying adequately skilled manpower for the industry. So what can we do? How do we reposition the youth in relation to the SDGs? Yes, we can do capacity building. We can, TVETs are also very key in terms of incubation centers, exchange programs like what we have currently with GCSAYN, innovations where we actually help the students to patent what they create, talent identification, mentorship, coaching. And one of the very key aspects is after we have done capacity building, we have instilled the skills, what else should we do? There is a general feeling currently that we should be able to provide startup toolkits so that youth can be able to go out there and actually create jobs and create gainful employment for themselves. So in our list, we are hosting a population of about 13,000. We are also a signed up member of the SDG Accord, and currently, of course, GCSAYN HQ Center of Excellence for TVETs globally. Apart from that, we are also set to host a virtual academy. I'm currently also having a grading policy, which is anchored on the UNESCO UNEVOC guidelines on greening of TVET. We're also very keen on having women and girls being included more in engineering courses of STEM through WITED. So we have various partnerships as an institution. We are working, of course, with GCSAYN. We are working with Young Africa Works in Kenya, focusing on finding solutions to the youth employment challenge and reducing poverty in Africa. We also have a partnership with USAID Empowered Youth Program, which is aimed at enhancing prospective economic prospects for the youth in accessing gainful employment and also capacity building of TVETs. We have been able to gain substantially both as trainees, trainers, and trainees. We also have partnerships with the Africa Development Bank, where we are skilling disengaged youth with practical skills. Another one of our very key partners is also EdFarm, which deals with superior genetics for Holstein, where we get industrial attachment, mentorship, coaching for our trainees. And that organization is also very key for community empowerment and value addition. Aims at enhancing dairy farming. One of our very key partnerships is also with GDC, Geothermal Development Company, where we are hoping to use clean energy by making use of the geothermal heat to do aquaculture, to do greenhouse farming, to do milk pasteurization and cereal/vegetable drying. And that's those are some of the things, interventions that we are actually doing. For climate action, we have a tree nursery, which facilitates the supply of trees to CBOs, to schools, and many other partners, and also donation of tree seedlings. In the past 3 years, as an organization, we have planted over 5,000 trees and created about 3 man-made forests, which is as part of our contribution to greening. Plans are also underway to offer courses, seabed courses, such as solar installation, horticulture, dairy management, poultry, and so on and so forth, as a way of providing decent work and spurring economic growth in the society. Now, currently, we are also utilizing solar power for powering the borehole and streetlights in the institution as one of the ways of reducing or reducing our dependency on hydroelectric power. So what can we do as TVETs? But before I go there, maybe let me just mention about our annual Agribusiness Expo. I did hear earlier a question by Michael, whether do farmers really know, or do people really know how to do these things? How have they learned? Do they have the skills? And yes, I would want to say as an institution, we are targeting through our Agribusiness Expo to share climate smart practices, to share agribusiness skills, to share skills on value addition, feed formulation, sustainable dairy farming, and urban gardening, and so on and so forth, in a bid to equip farmers with knowledge, or even the youth with knowledge, so that when they go out there. So what can we do as TVETs? Way forward is basically taking action now. TVETs should be very intentional and very deliberate in the way that we train the youth. We should network and bring other TVETs on board. And I'm glad my principal is here, who also sits in the national board for Kenya Association of Technical Training Institutes, CATI, because that is where this can be discussed and replicated to other TVETs. We should also enhance, as we do these things, we should enhance creation of opportunities, more and more opportunities for the youth, and encouraging them to actually create jobs rather than seek jobs. I want to end there, Divine. I hope I didn't take too long. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you very much. In fact, we are very much keen to make sure that young people within the Center of Excellences, within the CIP and Veteran Academy, they create jobs and not seek for jobs. And that's why I'm giving much time to institutions, academia. Dr. Wangila just spoke about the primary, Joro primary schools and the WhatsApp program. Now we've heard from we heard from the University of Kabianga, from Dr. Odu, and then we move to the TVETs. And in fact, we are very impressed because this meeting was for 4 o'clock, but we see people still joining at this hour. Shows the relevance of this meeting and the importance at this untimely moment. I'm going to give the floor to Juan. Juan, actually, I'm giving you the floor because you're first of all, my friend. Many years back, 2012, you started this process with us, with the Publicity Strategy Group. And I will just give you 2 minutes because we want to give the opportunity for outsiders to speak more. So Juan, you have 2 minutes to tell us a little bit about the work you've been doing on the SDG domestication and localization. Over, Juan.
Great, thank you, Divine. Gosh, 2 minutes. Okay, so I'm gonna try to capsulize years of work. So I run an organization called the Foundation for Building Sustainable Communities, and we have a number of programs. One is food and agriculture, internet governance, and I'll just talk about the food and agriculture since I only have 2 minutes. One of our programs is called the Climate Smart Victory Garden, and we ran a 6-acre community project for 10 years, from 2009 to 2019. And throughout that, those of you who don't know what a victory garden is, it was started 100 years ago, and it was to address food insecurity because of the First World War. So we took that model and added the concepts of climate smart agriculture to it. So it includes horticulture and agriculture. The biggest thing about the victory garden is that it actually addresses the nutrient value of food for everyday eating. So we've heard about the whole malnutrition and lack of nutrition. So it addresses that. It taught women and children how to grow food. And so we do that as well. So we took that really great model and added technology. I am the humanitarian advisor for the Institute for Electrical Engineers and Electronics. So I have a vast network of engineers to help me with my projects for remote sensoring, irrigation, smart irrigations, things like that. And I also review some of their own designs. The project also addresses the environment, which is climate change and nature, so sustainability. But it really focuses on practical and self-sufficiency. Part of the original program was this entrepreneurship that grew out of it. I'm trying to do this as fast as possible to make sure that we have all the components. So what we've done is, because of the 10 years, one of the things that came out of this community engagement, teaching people how to grow, was that they wanted us to have a more formal program. So we've created something called the Victory Garden Institute, which is to teach people all of these components with experts across the world who are doing it and showcasing it. But the biggest thing is that we want to benchmark and to professionalize, and I'm glad that somebody else brought that up. Someone messaged me and said, well, you know, it's great to professionalize, but it's there are issues underlying the food system, and so we have to address those. And I say, no, we just go ahead and do it and learn it and tell about the actions that we've done and the lessons we've learned, because you can think about what you're going to learn and what you're going to address and what you're going to do that. But when you do it, no one can take it away from you. So let's do that. That's what we did. The city told us we couldn't do it. The province said we couldn't do it. I live in Canada, and I just went ahead and got it from a private owner and did it and taught people how to do it. And youth, there was a number of youth that came and learned how to grow food. And two brothers came to grow food, and they wanted to start a business. They started a landscape business. They incorporated growing food in their landscape designs and are making a lot of money. And that's just one story. Unfortunately, can't tell a lot of the stories that we have because I only have 2 minutes. But I'd say that stop talking, be bold, have actions. And there's nothing like practical practices that help you to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you very much, Joan, for your insightful. I mean, we are so pleased and blessed to have you. I started this life with Joan in 2012. And I equally have Julie. Julie, I don't know if you would mind just to give maybe 1 minute intervention just to introduce yourself, Julie. Yeah, please, because you have a very good program, the Global Tree Initiative, which of course, I would say Julie, equally, I knew Julie since 2012. It's like 10 years now. So Julie, please. From Colorado, just 1 minute introduction, please.
Well, I'm actually in Oregon these days, but yes, the Global Tree Initiative is a wonderful new organization founded by Osalhita. He's a recognized tulku by the Dalai Lama, and he's a young man in his 30s, and he has launched this wonderful organization. In the last 2 years, we have planted. We have partners in 59 countries. We've planted 1.649 million trees. And we are our last partner. Our most recent partner is Farmtastic in Nigeria, who just dedicated 200 trees in October of this year. We're very happy to work with anyone around the globe planting trees. Our goal is to get your voice out, to form a global community, and to eventually, we're working on this year forming partnerships to do larger tree planting initiatives, like to reforest areas. We've got one project in process where we're working in Africa on that, and I'm happy to talk to anyone. Just reach out to plantgrowsave.org. Plant your tree, grow our forest, save their future. Plantgrowsave.org, Global Tree Initiative. And then thank you, Divine. This is wonderful. It's so great to see you. It's such a long way since our Peace Ambassador days. Thank you so very much.
Now, I'm going to move on to you.
You are muted.
I'm going to move. Yeah, I'm on mute. Yeah, I want to go now to Anna. Anna is from Rwanda. Anna, are you there? Okay, we shall move to the next. Yeah.
No, I'm around. Hello.
Okay, Anna, over to you. You have 2 minutes, Anna. 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
I'm so sorry. I've been waiting and I'm a bit stressed because time is gone. And sorry. Good evening or good afternoon. I don't know, depending on the time. So I can't. I'm trying to put my camera.
Yeah, you can be talking. You can be talking because
okay, I'll be talking. Thank you so much, Davin. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to be on this platform. And I don't know, 2 minutes, what do I say? I'm from Rwanda, as Davina said. I lead an organization called Skills Alive Incubator. But in as far as WAS is concerned, I'm apparently the lead for Rwanda. And I'm happy to join the entire team to discuss issues regarding achieving SDGs. But now back to the topic of what Rwanda is doing for the youth. First of all, I work with the youth and women, and the youth and women in Rwanda are being empowered in a way that to achieve this, we had to first mainstream youth activities in policies, strategies, and action plans. There's what we call performance contracts for districts. So each district, we have 30 districts in Rwanda. I'm trying to be fast. In each district in Rwanda, the mayors sign contracts with the president to deliver to the goals or to the action plans they are put in place. So, for example, if they say we are signing a contract and ensure that the youth will create maybe 10,000 jobs for the youth this year. So they have to deliver to that point because they sign a contract with the president. So that's why I'm saying youth activities have been mainstreamed in the government activities, and the youth have been given the opportunity to repair roads, especially in the public works, especially those that are not educated. And those that are educated also, sometimes find it hard to participate in such a kind of activities. And the other activities they participate in. For example, awareness campaigns. During COVID, we have youth volunteers that really worked so hard to deliver food to vulnerable people during COVID. And they would be given cards to reach out to people that do not have food and were had limited movements. So some young people also developed some software, and they came up with the tools to deliver to deliver food to the needy, especially those that could not move out, and especially those who didn't have food. And when I was reading an article, when I was thinking about what do, I saw an article which was written by FAO, which said that the African youth constitute 60% of the population. And they were saying by 2030, the youth will be having a population of about 1 billion youth. And then I started asking myself, why is it that some countries or some people think having young people up to the tune of 1 billion is a liability to us? Is it a liability or it's an asset? I think it's an asset. Then I'm calling to whoever is on this platform that our young people are ready to work. We use them. Let's use them. And then I don't like the word that says they are the future. The future is when? If you are talking about 2030, Agenda 2030, if you are 25 today, how old will you be? You'll be out of the bracket of the youth. So better use the person who is 25 today than waiting tomorrow or in 2030 when the person is past 30. I don't know if you are getting my point. And when you talk about 2063 agenda of the African Union, I think that Divine, if you are 20, I don't know how old are you today, but by 2063, how old will you be? So this is a question that we have to think about. So I'm calling the people on this platform that we should really make use of our young people, our young population, to drive the development agenda of our country. Then we have many young people that have come up with innovative solutions. For example, we have what we call Tap and Go. Tap and Go is a system used by one of our young people developed a system whereby instead of waiting, people are waiting, would wait many hours to get to the bus. So he came up with a system, it's called Tap and Go. I think it's being developed either in Cameroon and some other countries. So if young people could make use of such a kind of platform and also emulate examples from other countries, learn things that other countries are doing, then we let this platform help with the youth, tap those opportunities, and also we connect them to the right people that are giving them the right information to grow their businesses, to do businesses in their countries. So one other thing that I really want to also mention is to use young people to monitor programs, the SDG programs. They are young. If we have community programs, let's use them. They can help us to monitor. It's a matter of training them, show them what to do, and young people are ready to do. So I can see Divan doing your head. So in a nutshell, this is what I'm calling people to really help young people participate in reaching out to communities, participate in government programs. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, but unfortunately next time, put me on the agenda when I really have time to speak. 2 minutes or 3 minutes is too short for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for getting Rwanda involved. So I'm going to give the floor now to Linda. Linda, you have the floor, please. Take your 3 minutes and address everyone.
Okay. I'm Linda, a champion from Ghana. I'll be speaking briefly on the virtual academy. I think we've been mentioned earlier, so I'll just highlight on it briefly. My network is not the best, so I want to put off my camera so I can have a clearer understanding or hearing. Okay, so the virtual academy is basically a platform that harbors 3 of our main flagships: the mentorship program, the internship, and then the educational exchange program. So I'll take them one after the other. The mentorship program runs for 3 months and it's open to all ages. The mentees have individual, most of them have individual and cultural projects at agribusiness that they are handling already. And then the modules include climate smart agriculture, climate change itself, waste management practices, pastoralism, food systems, food security, agribusiness strategies, and we evaluate their projects as well. We recently graduated the first cohort of the mentorship program, and they had quite some testimonials to share. It's quite unfortunate I can't share the screen because it's enabled. So, and then the next flagship under this is the internship program that runs for 6 months. The program is for the basic and the secondary school students, and it gives hands-on demo farm training for students to enhance the theories and the practicals, the theories they learn in their various schools. Then we have the SEEP. The SEEP is basically the exchange, the GCSAYN education exchange program. It's a global exchange program on climate smart agriculture. So that's in our bid to also achieve the sustainable development goals. We bring together Center of Excellences who have signed the MOUs with us. They partner us with their educational institutions that they have in their home countries. And then these are the basis for the exchange programs. It covers primary, secondary, and then the tertiary or higher institutions. It entails students and teacher mobility, teachers mobility from one end to the other. We want to curb the inequalities and then give access to information to everyone on climate smart agriculture practices. And the approach we use is we liaise with the educational institutions in these member countries to develop the best curriculum for this innovative program. We have 3 modules, the university modules, entails students and lecturers exchange between countries in the same ecological zones. And then the high school models also have the teacher and student exchange in the same country. We don't want to move them away from their countries, which might be quite tedious for younger men or younger women. And then we have the basic school model. The basic school model allows for teacher exchanges within the countries and outside the or countries in the same ecosystems. So we don't want to move the kids in these zones because they are too young for these exchanges. So we move the teachers to areas that don't have teachers to handle these climate change and then this climate smart agricultural practices in terms of teaching the students. So the goal is for participants to learn best climate smart agricultural practices in their destination countries they are hosted, so that they can replicate these in their home countries. The target audience I've mentioned earlier is from primary, secondary to the tertiary level, and we include the TVETs, the technical and vocational training institutions, and the colleges and then the university students. The value that is added to the students who join the virtual academy is they give them an opportunity to participate in our 6 months internship program, our 3 months mentorship program, and then the exchange program that I've elaborated earlier. And it gives practical experiences that they pick from the demo farms that these students engage in to enhance their theory aspect of their learning. They get practical ideas aside the theory that they've learned in their classrooms. And then they enhance the students' leadership skills. Through this, we build capacity, we train them, we mentor them to strengthen their capacity in agribusiness. And then entrepreneurial mindset is built. We don't want students going out of school and then moving from offices to offices with their CVs looking for jobs. With this program, we harness the students with entrepreneurial skills so that they can build up their own startups when they are done, and even employ more people to come on board. So all these flagships are built on the SDGs. We are trying to eliminate poverty, though ultimately we want to, it's a climate action we are undertaking. We are eliminating poverty. We are taking off hunger, good health. All the 17 SDGs are catered for. For the sake of time, I would like to end here. Thank you very much for your time and for coming.
Exceeded up close to 30 minutes, half an hour. I'm going to thank everyone, and I'm going to give the floor to my co-moderator to close this meeting. But already, these are some of the key action areas. Number one, we will make sure that we rule out the African Youth for SDG program across all the centers of excellence massively from January right up to 2030. But we shall be focusing on the milestones because we have the SDG summit coming up. So we shall make sure that every one of us are fully involved in this process right up to the summit as well. There will be a pre-summit and then a summit itself. So we know that every July there's the HLPF, the High Level Political Forum, of course, which Irina, we just spoke earlier on the first speaker today, actually leads that process, and the SDG as well. So I think we are well to go. We just thought that it was very important for us to close this very beautiful year, important year with this milestone. Now I'm going to give the floor. The next thing we're going to be doing is that we shall set up SDG corners within all the center of excellences, be it primary, secondary, and tertiary. There's a library, a corner where they have all information about SDGs. We're already connecting together with the UN information centers across Africa and the world to make sure that they support in this regard, of course. So I'm going to give the floor to my co-moderator, Kai, from California, to give maybe 1 minute to close this meeting. Over to you, Kai.
Thank you, Divine, and thank you everybody for joining this amazing get-together over Zoom across the countries, over the globe, for these great intentions for the youth of Africa and the world. And I'm passionate about world peace. And so this is really a big stepping stone because as COVID hit, we know that food is primary. It's for our survival. And we must be filled with good nutritional food and a good way to support our livelihood and our living. And that's how we can start creating joy and more spaciousness within ourselves to give to others. And so the youth of Africa are going to have a bright future. And together we will motivate and inspire people and youth to really walk their passion and connect with nature and the earth. So I'm very grateful to be co-host here today with Mr. Divine, and I honor each and every one of you. Thank you so very much. Until next time, and a very happy New Year to everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This was great. Thank you.
Yeah, it is
Thank
recorded.
you.
It is recorded. You are going to have the recording in your emails. It is recorded. In 48 hours, you get the recording in your emails. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.